Tutankhamun was probably born at Akhenaten, which was the capital city of Egypt. He was born in about the year 1346 BC. He became pharaoh at the tender age of 9 in 1337 BC, and he reigned during the 18th dynasty when the Egyptian Empire were at its height. He reigned from about 1337 to 1328 BC. His tomb was discovered by a team of British archaeologists in 1922, nearly 3,000 years after his death. The tombs of Egypt boy king Tutankhamun was discovered on November 4th, 1922 by English archaeologist Howard Carter. Geb was known as the Great Cackler. He was represented by a goose. It was said that he laid an egg, and from that egg the sun hatched. He was the third divine king of earth. The royal throne of Egypt was known as the throne of Geb. Anubis is shown as having the body of a man but with a head like a jackal or wild dog. He had big perked ears and his hair looked like a mane. He was the god of funerals and death, and was often painted on the walls of the tombs as he was thought to protect the dead. Anubis invented embalming, as Egyptians did this to their dead, especially the pharaohs, to preserve them, since they thought that this helped them to live forever. It was believed that Anubis embalmed Osiris, who was the first mummy.
Khafra, sometimes known as Khafren, was an Egyptian pharaoh of the first dynasty who had his capital at Memphis. According to some authors, he was the son and successor of Khufu. His reign was from 2558 to 2532 BC. Khafre had 12 sons and 3 or 4 daughters. A statue of Khafra was originally found at Mitzrayim and is now in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Khafre was the builder of the second largest pyramid in Giza. This is 3 meters shorter than Khufu's. Most modern Egyptologists also credit him with the building of the Great Sphinx.
In Egypt in the 2nd millennium BC, the domestic cat first appeared properly as a miniature, stand-in for the lion. He came to enjoy a special place in his lives. He came people of this time, if not in their culture and their art. In the grandest of homes, a small reddish striped cat is seen cavorting beneath the chair of one of 2 elegant ladies who were playing the board game on the table between them.
Cleopatra VII was the last pharaoh in ancient Egypt. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC at Alexandria, which was the capital of Egypt at that time. Her dad was pharaoh, and when he died in 61 BC, she became pharaoh with her 10-year-old brother. They were married in keeping with Egyptian costumes. In 48 BC, the Roman Empire led by Julius Caesar and Pompey tried to take over Egypt. Cleopatra fled the country. Her brother had Pompey killed. Julius Caesar wasn't happy and took over Egypt. Cleopatra came back and Julius Caesar made her Pharaoh again. They had a little boy. They all left Egypt to go to Rome, but after Julius Caesar was killed, he returned as Pharaoh in 41 BC. Mark Antony, another Roman general, fell out with the other Roman general and became Cleopatra's husband. They had 3 children, Antony and Cleopatra, and thought the Romans but lost Mark Antony killed herself on 12 August 13 BC. Cleopatra made a cobra bite her and kill her. Egypt then became part of the Roman Empire, resulting in now more pharaohs.
Seth was also called Set. He was the god of the deserts, darkness and storms. There was also thunder when he was around. He was very strong but not very nice. Later Seth killed his brother, so his brother's son, who was called Horus, and Seth had lots of battles. Seth had square ears and a long, short and forked tail. Some experts think that the animal shown on his face head made up of many animals like donkey, jackal and fox. Other experts think it could be a giraffe. Seth was very bad and almost like the devil. He had a fight with his brother and drowned him in the river Nile. When he was dead, he then cut his body and spreaded the parts all over the desert because of this. Horus was very angry with Seth, so tried to hurt him. When he caught Seth, there was a great fight, and Horus lost one of his eyes, but Seth lost the battle and was sent to live in the desert forever. After some time, thought Seth and had a very important job. He was the porter of and bodyguard of Ra, the sun god. Many other gods wanted to hurt Ra, but only Seth was strong enough to protect him.
Anubis, the god of mummification or the god of death. He was part human, part jackal, the body of a human and the head of a jackal. He was believed to be the son of Osiris, who was the first mummy Anubis made. Anubis was an ancient Egyptian god of the underworld who guided and protected the spirits of the dead. People thought of Anubis as the god who weighed your heart to see if you were good or bad when you died. Jackals were attracted to the smell of dead bodies. Egyptians would have noticed the jackals prowling around the graveyards, and so the link between the animal and the dead was formed in their minds. Anubis was painted black to further link him with the dead, as black is the colour of death.
My God, Sobek. Sobek is my chosen God because I like the way he looks. Sobek has a head of a crocodile. Back in ancient Egypt, some people believed he created the world and he came from the dark god of the Nile. He can grow plants so people can live.
Ramses II was born in 1300 BC and died in 1213 BC before Christ. His dad was called Seti I. His mum was called Queen Teti. After looking at his mummy, they think he was about 5'7" and had red hair. Ramses II became the third king of the 19th dynasty at the age of 25 after his dad Seti I. He was king for 67 years, second longest in Egypt history. He became known as Ramses the Great. His 13th son Meratta became king after him. Ramses II built more monuments than any other Egyptian. He even had a zoo in his palace. Ramses II was buried in the valleys of the kings.
Cleopatra was well educated. She studied lots of things and could speak 6 languages. As she grew up, her brothers and sisters wanted to be the next pharaoh, and some of them even killed each other to give them a better chance. But it would be her father's choice which would be next. The Romans wanted to take over Egypt, but Cleopatra's father made a deal with him to share Egypt's riches with them if they left him in charge. Part of the deal was that if he had to use his army to take over other countries. During one of these wars, he was killed. Cleopatra was her father's favorite child and became the next pharaoh after her father died. After Cleopatra's father's death, Caesar, who was in charge of the Roman army, came to Egypt. Cleopatra wanted to stay friends with the Romans so she could stay in charge. Because her brothers and sisters wanted to kill her so they could be in charge, she had to sneak into Caesar without them knowing. She was wrapped up in a carpet and delivered it to Caesar as a gift. When it was unrolled, out popped Cleopatra. Caesar was so impressed and how clever she was and how beautiful her made the Queen of Egypt and killed all of her enemies to keep her safe and in charge. They fell in love and had a son for a while. Cleopatra went to live in Rome, but the people of Rome did not like her, so she did not stay. When she returned to Egypt, she was told Caesar has been killed in a battle. Cleopatra was clever and knew she could be in danger and someone might try to take over Egypt. Mark Antony took in charge of the Roman army, and Cleopatra decided she had to be friends with him so she could stay queen. When they met, they fell in love straight away, and soon Cleopatra gave birth to 2 twins, a boy and a girl. They loved each other very much, but Mark Antony knew Roman people did not like Cleopatra, so he returned to Rome and married another woman. This made Cleopatra very angry. She decided to rule Egypt on her own and made it a great and wealthy country. She cut taxes so the people had more money for themselves and they could afford more food and a better life. The people loved her and she loved them too. Mark Antony came back to her and this angered the people of Rome, and they started another war. Mark Antony was told a lie that Cleopatra was dead, so he killed himself. The people of Rome turned against Cleopatra and stopped her from being the queen. Cleopatra was so sad that she had to servant to bring a poisonous snake called an asp to her bedroom. She let the snake bite her and she died. Cleopatra was the last pharaoh to rule over Egypt.